You've also been feeling that something is amiss in the world, but you can't quite articulate it, as if the weather is peculiar, as if the routine has become a facade, and behind it, something is forming, awaiting the opportune moment. Many people share this feeling, yet few discuss it, and when they do, it's dismissed as exaggeration. But if it's not an exaggeration, this video is different. It's not just another warning. It's a pivotal moment. And I ask you sincerely to stay until the end, because if you leave midway, you might miss precisely what would resonate with you now, and you might not have another chance to hear it. Many have already observed the signs are pervasive. Strange blackouts. The weather is uncontrolled. Earthquakes in unexpected locations. Messages from the Virgin Mary that can no longer be ignored. Some consider it mere coincidence. Others prefer not to dwell on it, but some have awakened and begun to see a pattern. Something larger than it appears. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer it here in the comments with sincerity. Do you feel that we are living the beginning of something that can change everything, or do you still think that none of this is real? Tell me what you think. Feel, because sometimes what you share can awaken someone who is still sleeping. This is not about prediction or fear. It is about being attentive, because when everything starts to fall apart, those who have already prepared themselves spiritually are not consumed by panic, and those who wait for a clearer warning may already be too late. What I am going to tell you now, no one will tell you on the big channels, not because they do not know, but because they do not want you to know. So, watch carefully, take a deep breath, and listen, because after today, you will no longer be able to look at this world the same way. Some laugh when they hear it. Some say it is an exaggeration, a theory, madness. But the warnings have not stopped. They come from all sides, in different forms, all with the same weight. You can no longer pretend that nothing is happening, and yet silence continues to be the most common response. Most prefer not to see, close their eyes, close their hearts, pretend it is just another news item, just another disaster, just another isolated phenomenon. But it is not. It is high time to stop calling this a coincidence. What is happening is serious, and the most serious thing of all is that you were warned. It is not new. There were signs, visions, messages that tried to arrive, but were drowned out by the noise of distraction that has become modern life. While everyone is running after something, time is showing that none of this is a priority, that what is essential is not in what is seen, but in what is ignored, and that is precisely why many people will be taken by surprise. The messages of the Virgin Mary were not delivered for nothing. They were left as a map, an urgent call for those who still have time to listen. It is not about religion. It is about perceiving, understanding that heaven has already said what needed to be said, and those who do not listen now may hear too late, because the change will not be gentle. It will be abrupt. It will shake what seemed safe. It will erase what seemed eternal. It will put everyone before themselves, without a filter, without distraction, without an excuse. What else needs to happen for people to take this seriously? The cities are sinking, the sky changes color, the weather has become a code that no one understands, the earth trembles in places where it never trembled before, the sea no longer respects its shores, and yet the question that is heard most is it real? Doubt is not a sign of intelligence. Sometimes it is just fear in disguise, fear of accepting that the world as we know it has already begun to collapse, and that now what is at stake is much greater than comfort or routine. It is the soul. And while some wait for rational explanations, others are already preparing the spirit, because those who feel do not need proof, have already understood that the time for preparation is not when everything falls apart. It is now, in the silence, when it is still possible to do something, when it is still possible to align with something greater than this chaos. This is the warning that many have ignored and will continue to ignore until the moment when the sky darkens, the lights fail, and the world plunges into a silence never heard before. And at that moment, those who mocked will be silent, those who doubted will tremble, because there will be no more time to look for answers. It will be too late to ask, and only those who heard before will understand what is happening. That is why this video is here, not to convince, but to warn, because what is coming will not ask permission, and those who listened, those who did not listen will feel, and there will be no going back. There is a shadow approaching. It is not a metaphor. It is not poetry. It is a real presence, dense, growing, and the worst is that it does not arrive shouting. It settles in slowly. It spreads without haste. It enters the corners of the home through the cracks of the soul, and those who are not attentive will not even realize that it is already there, because this shadow does not announce itself. It infiltrates. It occupies. And when you realize it, it is already too late. It is a darkness that does not come only from the sky. It comes from the decisions of indifference, of the distance between what you feel and what you do. It is in the choices that have become routine, in the disregard for faith, in the rejection of that which sustains the invisible. The world has been disconnecting, and this disconnection has become an open space for this shadow to grow, and now it is everywhere, in the lost gaze of those who have given up, in the empty laughter of those who pretend to believe in something, in the fear disguised as optimism, in the silence of those who know but do not speak. The prophecy of the 3 days of darkness is not a mystical delirium. It is a warning, a clear message that a time will come when the light will disappear, and not only the electric light, but the light of conscience, of faith, of clarity. There will be days when everything that has not been resolved will come to light, days when no one will be able to hide what they carry. There will be no distractions. There will be no cell phones. There will be no excuses. It will be you alone, your fear, and what you have done with everything you have ignored until now. And when this darkness falls, it will fall for real. It will not be partial. It will be total. It will consume cities. It will paralyze systems. It will tear apart certainties, and only those who have prepared themselves long before it arrives will be able to get through, because there will be no time to run. There will be no one to ask for help. Those who are not firm will give in. They will go crazy. They will get lost. This moment is not fiction. He was warned. The Virgin Mary spoke. Jesus left signs. The whole sky has been screaming. But who is listening? Who is really stopping to realize that nature no longer obeys the normal cycles? The winds have changed. The animals have fled. Time has been lost. This shadow is not the end, but the beginning of the separation between those who will endure and those who will fall. And there is more. It will not be enough to pray at the time. It will not be enough to repent when everything goes dark. The repentance has to come now. The return has to start today, because later you may even try, but you will not find any more space. The door will be closed, and those who put it off for later will need to deal with the later alone. This shadow is coming, and it does not want to be denied. It wants to be faced, but not with force, with truth. And the truth costs pride, costs comfort, costs giving up everything that seemed right but wasn't. Because now, nothing that seemed safe will continue to stand. Everything will be re-evaluated. Everything will be shaken, and only what is real will remain. When everything around starts to fail, the only thing that keeps someone standing is what they carry inside. And in this time that is approaching, money, status, influence will not help. None of that will serve. What will make a difference is what you fed in your soul while you still had time. Because the shadow that comes is not just darkness in the sky. It enters your thoughts, messes up your feelings, disarms your reason, and only those who are sustained by something that the world no longer understands will resist. Faith is not about repeating soulless prayers. It is not about appearing spiritual when it is convenient. It is about having roots, and roots are not created overnight. Those who have not started are already late, because what comes is not light. It will require stability, firmness, discernment, and these things do not come from nowhere. They are the fruit of a connection built day after day, a living connection with God, with Jesus, with the Virgin Mary, not as an idea, but as a presence. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you have moved away from this connection? In how many situations have you exchanged silence for noise, withdrawal for distraction, the essential for what passes too quickly? The world has been teaching us that feeling is weakness, that withdrawing is a waste of time, that spirituality is an exaggeration. But now, each of these lies is being dismantled, and those who believed in them too much will have to face the loneliness of not having built anything within. It is now that spiritual resistance becomes the only real form of protection. Because when the 3 days of darkness come, it will be impossible to continue maintaining appearances. The truth will be revealed in the heart of each one, and only those who are firm in this force that does not depend on electrical energy, does not depend on public opinion, does not depend on approval. An invisible, but unbeatable force that only exists in those who have decided to live in a way that is coherent with what they believe, even if no one else around has understood, will endure. Spiritual preparation is not about fear. It is about truth. It is about stopping postponing this return that the soul has been asking for a long time, and understanding that praying is not just a religious act. It is a gesture of survival. It is finding breath where the whole world only delivers suffocation. It is returning to the axis, to the origin, to the essence. Because only from then on will it be possible to face what is coming with balance. Many people will seek spiritual help when the time sets in, but it will be too late to improvise. There will no longer be pastors on duty, churches open, or leaders with answers. Each person will have to sustain themselves with what they have built within themselves, and this construction is personal and non-transferable. You can even share food and give, but you cannot share faith. Either you have it or you will lack it. The Virgin Mary has already left the path. Her messages were clear. She does not speak to scare. She speaks to guide. To show that there is still a chance, but this chance is not infinite. She has a time and it is ending. The spirituality that the world mocked will now be the only shelter. It will not be fashionable. It will be necessary. Do not wait for darkness to remember the light, because at that time, only those who already carry it within will see it. There will come a day when everything will stop. The sky will darken without explanation. The clock will keep ticking, but time will drag on. The lights will no longer respond. The world will fall into a silence that does not seem human. It will be as if the earth had lost its own voice. In this void, there will be no room for doubt. The 3 days of darkness will be what many have called a myth of exaggeration and madness, but which will prove to be more real than anything that has ever been experienced. It will not be an eclipse. It will not be a storm. It will be the kind of darkness that penetrates from within, that presses on the chest, that confuses the mind. The light will not fail only in the lamps, but in the thoughts, in the certainties, in the faith of those who have never strengthened it. There will be days of forced seclusion, of direct confrontation with everything that has been hidden for too long. What is kept inside each one will appear, and there will be no escape. Those who have run away their whole lives will have to face it. They will have to sustain it. During these days, you cannot leave the house. You cannot open the door. You should not trust what you hear outside, because there will be voices. There will be noises, but they are not human. The recommendation was clear, direct, with no room for interpretation. Close the windows, lock them. Pray and wait. The chaos will be unleashed and it will not be visible. You will feel a pressure in the air. A panic that does not come from outside but grows inside. And here comes the detail that few understand. It is not just about a physical event. It is spiritual. It is totally spiritual. It is not about survival. In the traditional style, it is about going through the darkness without losing your mind, without collapsing, without becoming lost. Those who possess firm faith, those who have prepared themselves, will be able to endure it, with fear and difficulty, yes, but they will endure. Those who mocked this, those who ignored all the warnings, those who called it madness, will be drawn inwards, for in those days, each one will feel the direct consequence of the choices they have made until now. The prophets had already spoken. The messages of the Virgin Mary confirmed. It will be a purification, a deep division between the old and the new, between those who remained in error and those who chose the path of truth. It is not about punishment. It is not about divine vengeance. It is a chance. A final chance, but it will arrive wrapped in pain, in silence, in isolation. It will be each one with their conscience, their preparation, their truth. And not everyone will be able to bear it, for in those 3 days, the weight of the lack of faith will scream, it will suffocate, and there will be no point in seeking light anywhere. The only possible light will be that which has already been cultivated within. The only true companionship will be the presence of God, and those who have never had this presence will feel what true emptiness is, the kind of emptiness that cannot be filled with words, promises, or last-minute regrets. These 3 days will divide the world. They will mark those who survived spiritually, and will make it clear that the time for mockery is over. There will be no more irony. There will be no more time. There will only be the direct consequence of what was chosen to live before the darkness fell. And when everything passes, when the light returns, those who resisted will no longer be the same, for the darkness does not depart without leaving a mark, but it also does not depart without revealing what is real. Those who still think they can wait a little longer have already wasted too much time. There is no more time to postpone. There is no more time to pretend they did not hear. If the 3 days of darkness knock on the door tomorrow, what have you already done to endure? What do you already have inside your house, inside you, to face something that no one will be able to avoid? For one thing is certain, those who did not prepare will suffer, and those who left everything for later will pay a high price for this choice. It is not a matter of exaggeration. It is a matter of survival. Spiritual preparation is the foundation of everything, but it does not stop there. The body also needs to endure. The house needs to protect. The mind needs to resist. And for that, there must be preparation, candles, matches, clean water, food that does not spoil easily, not because of paranoia, but because the global blackout is real. Experts, scientists, and people who have no interest in making up stories have already spoken about it. But the problem is that many people only believe it when it is too late. When the lights go out, whatever has been done is what will count. Do not think that there will be time to rush after it. In the darkness, nothing works. Nothing communicates. No one will be available. It will be every person for themselves, facing what was warned of for so long. And the cruelest thing about all this is knowing that many will have listened, but left it for later. And in the meantime, the world will no longer have its doors open. Now is the time to learn how to purify water, to stock up on the basics, to know how to remain silent and safe, with your soul in order. It is not a time for despair, but it is also not a time for complacency. It is a time for action. The Virgin Mary's messages were direct: stock up. Protect your homes. Pray. Be alert. Do not let the voices outside enter. For evil knows how to imitate. It knows how to deceive. It knows how to disguise itself. And it will use this against those who are not ready. There is no point in trusting technology. The internet will go down. Cell phones will turn off. Devices will stop connecting to the outside world. It will disappear, and all that will remain will be the inner connection. What you have planted within yourself will be all you have. The faith that you have nurtured. The calm that you have trained. The presence of God that you cultivated when there was still time. There are people who prepare as if they were setting up a shelter, but they forget that without internal preparation, the shelter becomes merely a dark prison. That is why you cannot focus solely on the physical. There must be balance, For what is coming is a breakdown of everything, from the material structure to the emotional balance and spiritual stability. If one of these pillars fails, everything else will collapse. And there is more. Preparation also means knowing who is around you, for not everyone will be able to handle it. Not everyone will remain calm. The presence of desperate people can be the trigger for something even worse. So, surround yourself with those who understand, those who take you seriously, those who pray with you, those who know that protection is not only in what you have, but in what you carry. This is the time to act. It is not tomorrow, it is not when you feel safer, for there will be no ideal time. The collapse will not warn you. It will come. And whoever is unprepared will be thrown into a dark and hopeless labyrinth. The exit is not about paranoia. It is about lucidity, and those who see clearly have already understood. This time demands more than faith. It demands posture. It demands preparation, and the difference between getting through or being consumed is exactly in what you do now. The sky is no longer silent. It has spoken in every possible way. And those who still think that these are just natural changes are not paying attention. There is a fury underway. A force moves above, defying all that seemed predictable. The sun, once a symbol of life, now threatens to scorch what it helped sustain. And this has already begun. Solar activity has skyrocketed. Scientists acknowledge it, but what no one dares to say is that this is not merely science. It is the fulfillment of an ancient warning. It is not just about extreme heat. It is about what this heat brings. Solar flares with the power to silence satellites, cut power indefinitely, damage communication networks on a global scale. This is what experts say. But there is something behind this, something that transcends technical explanation. It is as if the universe itself were in a rage. As if creation were responding to human disconnection from its origin. And those who look closely realize, the sky is acting. This sun, threatening to explode, is no longer the same sun as before. The temperature increases, instability grows, and with it, the signs. Even with all this happening, some still treat it as speculation, but it will not seem like speculation when the devices burn out, the systems fail, and the world goes dark in broad noon. It will be reality, and it will be too late to understand. The Great Blackout has already been announced. It is not a distant prophecy. It is a real projection. However, the impact of this goes far beyond the light that goes out. What is truly lost is not the electrical energy. It is the sense of control. It is what keeps the world in rhythm. When this fails, the order we know disappears. Life collapses, and the human being finds themselves alone. Without a voice, without an answer, without a way out. But the sky does not act by chance. The Virgin Mary has already spoken about this clearly. This time of purification will demand a position from humanity. It is not a punishment. It is a consequence. The planet is tired. Creation is screaming, and whoever continues to ignore it will be consumed by their own silence, for there will be no more denying it. There will be no hiding it. The heavens will speak too loudly. This fury does not come only to destroy. It comes to cleanse, to separate, to interrupt the cycle of self-sabotage that humanity has been nurturing for centuries. But this cleansing will not be gentle. It will be intense. It will be devastating, because it is the only way to make the truth emerge where lies have been cultivated for so long. Those who still believe that there will be time to adapt afterward have not understood what is coming. This is the time to strengthen not only the physical but the soul, because the fury of the sky does not only affect machines. It affects internal structures. It tears down masks. It reveals intentions. It exposes what was hidden even from oneself. The universe is aligning itself and is not waiting for anyone. Each new solar storm is a reminder that something greater is on its way, and on this path, only those who are anchored in faith, in truth, and in preparation will resist. The rest will collapse, not because of divine malice, but as a natural consequence of a disconnection that has been deepening over time. When the light of the sky turns against us, there will be no reset button. There will be no excuse that can solve it. There will only be the reflection of what each one has built within themselves, and for many, the shock will be seeing that there was nothing there. Now it is no longer a question of when. It is a question of who will endure, who will get through it, because chaos is not only a scenario of destruction. It is also a filter, a divider, a moment that separates those who resist with faith from those who crumble inside. And no one will be able to get through it alone. Even though physical isolation is inevitable, spiritual resistance depends on something that most have avoided: unity. But it is not just any unity. It is not being part of a group for convenience. It is not following movements out of fear. It is being truly connected with those who are also awake, who understood that the confrontation that is approaching is not political or ideological. It is spiritual. And in this confrontation, what is at stake is not opinion. It is truth. It is no longer possible to walk on the fence. Either you take a stand now, or you will be consumed by indecision. The darkness that comes is not only physical. It is mental. It is emotional, and whoever is not supported inside will fall inside, because the world will not support. The structure of the system will fail, and in this vacuum, each one will have to decide what truly sustains their life. And this decision can no longer be superficial. Either you live what you believe, or you will be crushed by incoherence. There are people waiting for divine help, as if it were magic, as if it were possible to ignore all the signs and at the last minute be rescued by mercy. But the faith that saves is the faith that is practiced before the crisis. Spiritual protection is not a last-minute prize. It is the fruit of the journey, and those who did not build this base before will have difficulty maintaining any stability when everything goes dark. And it is at this point that unity makes sense, because those who are prepared need to help those who are still trying to find themselves, not with ready speeches, but with presence, with prayer, sharing. Because the strength of light grows when it unites, and on the other side, darkness also acts together. It feeds on the collective fear, shared despair, confusion spread en masse. That is why the more people are centered, firmly united, the harder it will be for chaos to completely set in. This confrontation will not be of weapons. It will be of intentions, of vibration, of positioning. It will be silent but decisive, and the battlefield is invisible. It takes place in the thoughts that arise, in the words you say, in the decisions you make when no one is looking. It will be there that everything will be revealed, because the extreme crisis does not create character. It exposes what already existed, and what will emerge from within each one is what will determine the end. Unity now is not a request. It is a demand. Whoever goes it alone due to pride, ego, distrust, will have to deal with their own shadow without anyone around, and not everyone can handle this kind of loneliness. So now is the time to choose who is on your side, who is aligned, who really wants to get through this time with purpose, with faith, with clarity, because the confrontation is installed and will not retreat. It will grow. It will tighten. It will shake to the last foundation, and whoever is not anchored in the light will be dragged by the forces that have been ignored for too long. The time for doubt is over. Now it is decision, position, and action. Even in the midst of collapse, fear, and absolute silence, there is something that does not yield, a presence that does not vanish, that remains steadfast even when everything crumbles. The eternal promise is not theory, it is not repeated history. It is the living truth that has sustained those who did not retreat, that has kept standing those who chose to believe, even without seeing, even without guarantees, even with everything pointing to the contrary, because deep down the soul feels, and those who felt know, Jesus never abandoned us. He was always present in pain, in chaos, in absence, in waiting, always there, watching, whispering, strengthening from within, even when no one noticed. And now, when the whole world is on the edge of the abyss, he does not appear with a spectacle. He appears with presence, with firmness, with redemption. The Virgin Mary did not speak of destruction when she left her messages. She spoke of the return, of the reconnection, of hope, but a hope that costs, that demands surrender, that asks for courage, because the path to the light is not comfortable. It is narrow. It is traversed by those who have rid themselves of arrogance, by those who have emptied themselves of pride, by those who have understood that without faith, everything is lost. And now, in the midst of the crisis, this light begins to shine again, not from the outside, but from within. The promise was never of comfort. It was of the presence of eternity, of the rescue of what is essential and should never have been set aside. Now that everything has collapsed, it returns to the surface, not as a magic solution, but as a direction. A path that is open to those who have spiritually survived the worst, for those who resisted the darkness without becoming darkness, for those who chose not to surrender to fear. And this promise is not distant. It is intimate, deep, silent, and at the same time powerful, because when it is activated within the heart, nothing else can dominate. No darkness, no chaos, no doubt. It is at this point that the one who truly understood is revealed. Not the one who heard everything, but the one who let it shape who they are inside. This moment of revelation will not be collective. It will be individual. Each person will realize before themselves whether they built their faith or merely memorized beautiful words. The presence of Christ will not seek out those who were perfect. It will seek out those who were sincere. Those who fell but rose. Those who failed but repented. Those who chose forgiveness. Those who, even in silence, kept the light on while the whole world plunged into darkness. The promise is not only salvation. It is transformation. It is going through this time of trial and emerging on the other side. Different, lighter, cleaner, and whole. Because all this chaos that the world is experiencing now is not the end. It is a restart. It is a necessary separation, so that the new can be born. But this new will not be given to everyone. It will be revealed only to those who endured. Those who listened. Those who believed even when no one else believed. This promise is not theoretical. It is pulsating. Now it is being activated in the hearts of those who are awakening. And each person who recognizes it begins to see the world with different eyes. There is no more room for illusions. There is only reality. And the reality is that God never abandoned Jesus. He never left the path. The light never ceased to exist. The question is, will you be ready to receive it when it appears? To shine again, after everything goes dark. When the soul thinks it cannot endure another second, something happens that no one expected. The silence gives way to a whisper. The pressure begins to ease, and the light returns, but not like before. Not in the light of the common world, of that automatic, unpredictable, anesthetized routine. This light is different. It is raw and intense. It shows everything. It reveals what is left and what is not left. And in that moment, what each one carries inside becomes impossible to hide. The rebirth is not a reward. It is a consequence. Only those who endured the confrontation go through it. Those who did not sell out in the midst of fear. Those who stood firm when everything trembled. And now, when the darkness recedes, this group does not emerge victorious. It emerges transformed. Because those who go through something like this do not return to who they were. Something breaks inside, but at the same time, something awakens. And what awakens is what should always have existed, the awareness of what really matters. The structures that fell do not return, and should not return. What was torn away was because there was no more space. The old world no longer serves. The ego, vanity, excess, control, blind materialism, all of this was trapped in the darkness, and those who survived know the true value is not in things. It is in the soul, in faith, in sincere repentance, in real compassion, in that which was never bought or sold. Now is no longer the time to ask. It is the time to give thanks. Because whoever is standing after all is a living witness of what was warned. A witness that the prophecy was fulfilled, but also that mercy did not fail. Because even in the worst, the sky did not turn its back, and whoever responded with faith received strength. Not superhero strength, but the strength to remain, to resist, to continue, even without seeing the end. This new time will not be for everyone. It will be for those who understood that the true miracle is not surviving the chaos. It is not getting lost in it. The world will not return to what it was, and this is the best news. Because what is coming now is a clean land, a new chance. But it will not be handed to you on a silver platter. It will be built step by those who were purified in pain and shaped by the truth. It is the new beginning of a people who learned to look up before looking to the sides, who understood that without God, everything falls apart, who discovered that faith is not an accessory to a crisis, but the foundation of existence. And now these people have a mission to rebuild, not with the same ideas, not with the same mistakes, but with purpose, with humility, with truth. Because now there is no more excuse. Everything has been revealed. The end that was so feared was just the portal. What exists now is the chance for a different world, but only those who went all the way understand the weight of this, and only those who felt the darkness inside will value each ray of this new light. Because when rebirth comes, it doesn't ask if you are ready. It simply comes, and those who are empty of old illusions will finally be able to be filled with the truth that sustains everything. There was a time when everything still had time, when things could still be contained, reversed, softened. But that time passed. It was when the signs began to multiply, when the sky began to change, when the earth began to react, when the winds blew in strange ways, and the sea stopped obeying limits. But no one wanted to see it. It wasn't convenient to stop life, to pay attention to something that couldn't be controlled. So they ignored it. But now it's no longer a question of belief. Now it's survival. And even so, they keep pretending, as if they hadn't heard the messages, as if the warnings hadn't been given in so many words. It wasn't just once. It wasn't vaguely. They were called, really clearly, repeatedly. But people were too busy with things that now no longer make any sense. While a few stopped to listen, the majority laughed and called it fanaticism, an exaggeration, an invention. The problem is that what seemed crazy is happening before everyone's eyes. And now what was once a warning has become reality. The Virgin Mary spoke. She warned and begged, not out of spiritual vanity, but out of love. And this love was treated as noise. It was discarded in the midst of daily distractions, thrown in the same place where people put everything that requires a change in life. This silent contempt is what hurts the most, because it is not done with hate. It is done with indifference. And indifference is what makes room for destruction. When the human being stops feeling, caring, and listening, that is when the doors open to everything that should have been avoided. It was not for lack of warning. It was due to excess pride. And now this pride will cost dearly. The warning was ignored because it was uncomfortable, because it asked for a position, because it touched where no one wanted to touch, the void hidden behind the routine, in the automatic choices, in the faith that became an accessory, and not a basis. Who listened and followed forward, as if nothing had been said, thought there would be time later. But later didn't come. Later became now. And now the silence is demanding every neglected decision. The earthquakes are not happening for nothing. The waters are not invading the cities by accident. The earth is responding, and those who are with their eyes closed call it chance. But those who see know it is the echo of ignored warnings. And each time one of these tragedies appears on the screen and becomes just another news item, something inside is fading. Because people are losing the ability to feel the real weight of things. They are anesthetized. They think it is normal, but none of this is normal. The world is not only changing. It is being turned inside out. And spirituality, that was always seen as exaggeration, is now the only possible anchor. But not everyone has time to build this foundation. Because faith is not bought. It is not improvised. It is cultivated. It is strengthened. It is tested. And those who did not do this while the warnings were still echoing will find out the hard way what it means to be exposed in a time like this. This is the moment when the truth appears without makeup, and it shows, without mercy, who chose to listen and who chose to ignore. There is something that spreads, and no one knows how to name it, but everyone feels it. It didn't arrive suddenly. It didn't appear in a single event. It slowly entered, without noise, infiltrating routines in homes and thoughts. The shadow is already here, and it's not a symbolic figure. It's real. It's in the way the world slowed down inside. In the way people lost the sparkle in their eyes and began to live by inertia, without even realizing it. This shadow doesn't cover the sky. It covers consciousness. It darkens clarity, blurs the meaning of things, messes up what once seemed solid. You realize it's acting when you start to feel like you're no longer sure of anything. When what once gave you direction becomes a burden. When words lose value, and even faith seems distant. The shadow acts like this. It doesn't scare you. It puts you to sleep. And that's what makes it dangerous. It settles in little by little. First in the silence that becomes uncomfortable. Then in relationships that break up for no clear reason. In thoughts that become heavier. In dreams that start to carry more tension than rest. In the body that tires without effort. And when you realize it, it's no longer a phase. It's a state. A type of invisible paralysis that consumes what you have held within yourself. The prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. It is not about what will come, it is about what has already begun. The final darkness will only reveal what this silent shadow has been building for years. What we call darkness will not fall suddenly. It is already gnawing away from within, undermining faith, weakening the spirit, disconnecting people from themselves, from God and from the truth. And this is the cruelest thing. Because when the darkness falls, many people will think it was sudden, that it happened without warning, but it was not. The preparation did not start now. It was already underway, but most people did not want to see it. Now, when everything starts to close in, there will not be much left to do. The shadow will not knock on the door. It is already inside, and only those who have cultivated inner light will be able to face it. The Virgin Mary warned Jesus, made it clear. There would be no greater warning than the state of the world itself. Look around you. Empty people running for nothing. Hard hearts incapable of feeling true compassion. Children growing up without spiritual reference. Generations that have lost the notion of what is sacred. This is the shadow, and it does not need to be visible because it already dominates. Those who have stopped noticing what is coming are not punishments. It is a mirror, a reflection of what humanity has cultivated over time, and whoever does not have the courage to look at it will be consumed, because this shadow does not destroy with force, it destroys with silence, with indifference, with meaningless routine. And when darkness truly falls, it will only finish doing what it has already started, separating those who kept the light from those who let it extinguish. When everything goes dark on the outside, what holds you together is what you have inside, and it is not pretty talk, it is real, because it will not be the shelter, nor the stock, nor the survival protocols that will keep someone whole. It will be faith, it will be the invisible strength that you built on the day when no one applauded you, no one listened to you, no one understood you. Spiritual resistance does not show itself, it sustains itself, And that is what will make the difference when chaos becomes absolute. Many people will get lost trying to maintain control, trying to organize what can no longer be organized. They will look for answers where there are none, and they will break, because the confrontation that comes is not physical, it is internal, it is personal, and for this type of battle, only those who have trained inside, who cultivated faith when everything was fine, can resist. Because who only gets close to God when fear arrives has already lost even before the first fall. It is not a matter of memorizing prayers. It is a matter of being a living prayer. Having your heart turned toward the light even when your body is surrounded by darkness. And this cannot be improvised. It is built day after day in the silences. In the cuts. In the no's you said to not get lost. In the vigilance that no one saw. In the discipline that you maintained even without certainty. This is spiritual resistance. Without it, despair comes and draws you along. It is now that many people realize that faith is not an accessory. It is not an emergency resource. It is a base. Structure. And without structure, the soul collapses. Fear dominates. The mind collapses. And you start to see people succumbing, not because they lacked food or protection, but because they lacked inner preparation. And this is the point. The unprepared soul becomes easy prey when the darkness begins to speak louder. During the 3 days of darkness, no one will be able to support you. There will be no advice, videos, texts, or leaders nearby. It will be you. You and God. And if this bond is not strengthened, what you will hear is not the sound of salvation. It is the echo of your own abandonment. Not divine abandonment, but the abandonment that you yourself cultivated, denying presence, postponing connection, pretending spirituality when it was convenient. The Virgin Mary always made it clear, preparation begins in the inner self. It begins with real repentance, not with performance. It begins when you look into your own abyss and decide to retreat before you fall. It begins when you stop looking for God just to ask and start looking for Him to stay and remain in this time. This resistance will not be noisy. It will be silent. It will hurt. It will tire, but it will protect, because when everything collapses, only those who are anchored in what is eternal will remain standing, not because they are too strong, but because they have surrendered. Because they understood that in this time, there is no other strength besides the light that you sustain in secret. There is no other salvation besides remaining firm when everything around you screams to give up. There is no point in trying to copy this. You cannot imitate resistance. Either you have it or you break. And the only way to have it is by emptying yourself of what is useless. From pride to haste to fear of appearing weak. Because in the end, it will not matter how you were seen by others. It will matter if, in the absolute darkness, you could still hear the voice that never stopped calling you. There comes a time when the wait ends, when the silence of heaven is undone in a sharp cut, and everything that was said is fulfilled without further time, without further choice. The 3 days of darkness begin like this, without announcement, a darkening that respects no clock nor logic nor expectation. It is not night. It is the absence of light, absence of direction, a complete erasure of everything that sustained the world as we knew it. People will look at the sky and will not understand. They will try to turn something on, reconnect, and nothing will work, because it is not a failure. It is the shutdown, a definitive cut, a turning point that had already been warned, and even so, it will catch the majority like a blow. The light goes out, the sound goes silent, the presence disappears, and time stretches. 3 days that do not pass, 3 days that expose everything that is left or what never existed inside. Inside the house, those who heard the warning will have the doors closed, windows covered, in prayer. But not everyone will be able to bear what comes from outside, because it will not be just screams. There will be voices, calls, appeals, sounds that seem familiar, known names, people begging to come in, but they are not people. It is deception. It is evil disguising itself as everything it can to open a breach, and if you open the door, it is over. It is at that moment that many will realize how much they underestimated. Everyone will want to pray, but the prayer won't come. They will want to calm down, but the body won't obey, because the empty soul collapses, and despair is the last stage before the total fall. Only those who have built something true inside will resist, and even those will feel the weight, because it's not easy. 3 days trapped in a thick silence. 3 days where time seems to mock you. Where thoughts race and try to sabotage you. Where fear takes shape, and the only way to get through is to stay. Not reacting. Not running away. Not opening up. Not giving in. Just breathing. Praying. Trusting. Even if everything around you says otherwise. The darkness won't just be on the outside. It will also come from within. It will look for cracks. It will test every weakness. It will try to open every door that is still ajar. If it finds space, it will enter. That's why the warnings were clear. That's why spiritual preparation has always been the focus, because during this time, the body can even resist, but the one who saves or condemns is the soul. There will be people who can't stand it. People who will go crazy. They will beg for it all to end. They will bang on the walls. They will get lost. They will fade away inside before the light comes back. And it won't be because they were abandoned. It will be because they lived as if they had never existed. It was going to happen because you treated faith as a last resort. Because you mocked, doubted, ignored. Now the time is up. But there will also be those who resist, those who tremble but stay, those who cry but remain, those who are afraid but hold on tight. And they will get through these 3 days with a different outlook, with a clean heart. They will leave marked, and not by trauma, but by truth. Because the 3 days of darkness are not punishment. They are a filter, separation, purification. And the question is, when this darkness falls, what will keep you whole? What have you already built inside? What will answer for you when not even your voice works anymore? It's no longer time to guess. It's time to prepare. Because this day will come, and when it comes, you won't be able to ask for more time. You can only stay or not. There's no point waiting for a sign anymore. There's no point thinking that you'll feel the right moment to prepare. It's already past. What had to be said was said. What needed to be warned was warned. Now it's time to act. Because when darkness falls, there will be nothing left to look for. What you've done until then will be all that's left, and it's not just filling the house with candles, matches, drinking water, and food. Don't ruin it, that's the least of it, that's the physical. But the problem isn't just what's missing outside. The real collapse will happen inside each one of us, and whoever isn't at least ready will break, will crumble before the second day of darkness. And then it doesn't matter if the pantry is full. The soul will be empty. Preparing now is an act of survival, and survival in this case is more than keeping the body alive. It's keeping faith alive. It's keeping the mind lucid. It's being able to endure silence without going crazy. It's being able to endure fear without opening the door. It's being able to endure doubt without moving away from God. And this isn't learned by watching videos. This is lived. This is built brick by brick in everyday life that no one sees. True preparation begins with cutting out the excess. In saying no to everything that drains you, that distracts you, that weakens you. In cleaning out what takes up space and doesn't feed you. In distancing yourself from those who ridicule your faith, who drain your energy, who make fun of all this as if it were just another story. Because when the time comes, these same people will look for someone to hold their hand, and maybe there won't be any hands outstretched anymore. Now is the time to review what you have as a basis. Do you pray out of habit or out of necessity? Do you speak to God as if you were repeating or as if you needed to breathe? Do you kneel down out of fear or out of surrender? Because when everything goes out, the only sound that will matter is your prayer. And if it doesn't come out, if it's shallow, if it's empty, there won't be much to do. Have candles. Have matches. Have supplies. Have the basics. But more than that, have true faith. Not just lip service. Not the kind that depends on other people's approval. But the kind that keeps you firm when there's no one to applaud you. The kind that holds you when the ground disappears. The kind that connects you to the high when everything around you pulls you down. Hold on now while there's still time. Deal with the silence. With loneliness. With the dark. Train your spirit. Strengthen your mind. Detoxify your heart. Because what's coming warns you. And when it comes, you're either anchored or taken. The Virgin Mary didn't ask for a candle by chance. She didn't ask for a prayer out of tradition. She asked because she knew what was coming. She saw it. And whoever listens understands. Whoever feels it starts to act. Not out of desperation, but out of conscience. And there's no point in saying later, but no one warned me. You're listening now. And what you do from here will be your answer. It will be your part. It will be what keeps you standing or not. The sky is not calm. It is not static. It is not distant. There is something moving up there, and it is not just wind. It is not just weather. It is not just heat. It is fury. A fury that does not scream but warns, that does not destroy all at once, but takes everything out of place little by little, but in a precise way. The earth has already responded. The sea has already moved. Now it is the sky. The sun is no longer the same. It is unstable, aggressive, inconstant. The solar flares are increasing. It is not guesswork. It is not a prophecy on paper. It is given. It is measured. It is confirmed. Scientists warn, with the coldness of those who do not want to alarm, but also cannot hide, something is coming, something that will surpass any limit of human control. But what science calls an extreme solar event, the heavens had already announced long before, and it was not with graphs. It was with messages, with signs, with supplications. The Virgin Mary warned. She said that the sky would turn against the earth, that a greater force would come from above, not as light that warms, but as fire that purifies. A division between what can continue and what needs to be swept away. This fury is not disorganized. It is necessary. It is part of something bigger. Because the entire universe aligns when humanity ignores the warnings too much, when creation is treated as a stage, not as a part, when the sacred becomes a joke, when the divine becomes consumption. The sky cannot eternally support this inversion, and when the time comes, it reacts, and it is reacting. The Earth's magnetic field weakening. Radiation threatening entire systems. Unstable satellites. Vulnerable communication. And at any moment, everything can literally fall. What depends on energy locks up. What depends on technology dies. And with that, the modern world collapses. Because everything that sustains this lifestyle is hanging on fragile, invisible threads, and now about to break. But the impact is not only external. The sky's fury touches where no one expects. It presses the soul. It awakens what was hidden. It is as if something beyond the visible begins to tear the surface of reality and show what is behind. And there is a lot there. Something that no one wanted to face. Something that has remained dormant until now. That is why it is no use just preparing the house. You have to prepare the spirit. Because the sky is not sending fire for nothing. It is cleaning. It is sweeping. It is purifying. This hurts. It will hurt, but it needs to happen. Not to punish, but to stop what is rotten from continuing to grow. This fury can no longer be ignored. It cannot be called a coincidence or a natural cycle, because it carries a purpose. It carries a message. It carries a separation between those who still insist on denying and those who have finally decided to wake up. And those who wake up understand. It is not about fearing the sky, but about understanding that divine justice also comes from above. And when it comes down, nothing can stop it. Only those who are firmly anchored in peace within will be able to get through. The rest will be knocked down by force, by heat, by the light that reveals everything the world tried to hide. There will come a time when it won't matter how much you know, how much you prepared, how much you believe. If you're alone, it will be harder, and you might not be able to handle it. Because the darkness that is coming doesn't just destroy the light. It separates. It pushes you away. It breaks fragile bonds. It exposes what was never real. And the confrontation that is approaching is not just between you and the world. It's between you and what's deepest in the other. It's between light and shadow within, and between unity. Now it is not an option. It is resistance. It is protection. It is a shield. And it is not for everyone. It is not for those who join out of interest. It is not for those who follow because they are afraid. This unity demands truth. A clean heart. Straight intention. Because the darkness that will haunt homes in these days knows how to pretend. Knows how to infiltrate. Knows how to speak like someone who loves. And if the connection between those who are together is weak, it will enter. The separation will happen, not only between those who believe and those who do not believe, but between those who live what they say and those who only talk nicely. It will become clear, and it will not be possible to maintain the image. You will be able to see in the eyes who has light and who only pretended. The confrontation will demand hard choices. You will have to cut people off. You will have to close doors. You will have to silence familiar voices. Because evil will use faces that you love. It will use memories. It will use everything it can to open breaches. And if you are not surrounded by those who are in the same spirit, you will fall. Now is the time to identify who is ready to go with you until the end. Who prays with you, not out of formality, but because they feel the weight of what is coming. Who reminds you of the promise when everything seems to fall apart. Who does not allow themselves to fall asleep, because you know that if you stop now, you won't get up again. And those few are worth more than 1,000 distracted people. Because in the 3 days of darkness, each presence inside your home will be a channel or a crack. And that's why you can no longer hang out with those who disbelieve, with those who mock, with those who treat faith as a hobby. Now is the time to look at those around you and ask, are you going to resist with me, or are you going to drag me down? Because the answer to that could be the difference between getting through or being consumed. It's hard to say, but that's how it is. There's no more room to please anyone. It's God or nothing. It's light or darkness. And those who try to reconcile the two end up in ruin. But for those who choose to unite in truth, in spirit, in living faith, there will be strength. There will be protection. There will be firmness. Shared prayer holds more than many people imagine. The right presence keeps you standing when your strength runs out. True unity activates grace, makes room for heaven to act, protects, resists. But be careful. It's not enough to be close. You have to be together. You have to be aligned. You have to be connected in the same direction, or the house becomes a trap. The home becomes noise, and confrontation sets in inside when it should be faced from the outside. Division will be clear, and the only chance of remaining is if you are surrounded by those who are looking at the same place as you, looking up. It is not about creating an army. It is about forming a nucleus, a space shielded by true faith, because the final confrontation will not happen outside. It will happen where no one sees. It will happen inside your home, inside your mind, inside your soul. And the question that will echo when the first day of darkness arrives is, who is on your side and where will he take you? The crossing was not simple, nor light, nor short, but it had a meaning. Those who endured it understood why. When the third day began to give way, when the silence began to recede, when the weight of darkness began to dissolve in the air, something revealed itself. Not a voice from heaven, not a spectacular apparition, not a thunderous sign. It was subtle but undeniable. A peace that was inexplicable. A presence. Jesus never left, never abandoned, never fell silent out of neglect. He was there the whole time. And only those who crossed know. Only those who felt despair knock and decided not to open the door. Only those who heard their name being called outside with the same voice of someone they loved, and still the lock was kept. Only those who prayed without words, because fear blocks everything. Only those who resisted in silence. These now know the promise was real. It wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about not being alone in it. And now, with the world in tatters, but with the soul intact, his presence becomes clear. Not as an idea, but as strength, as absolute truth, like that invisible thread that held everything together when nothing else made sense. The eternal promise was never comfort. It was permanence. It was presence in the dark. It was direction in chaos. It was firmness when the ground disappeared. And this promise is not theoretical. It is not religious. It is lived. It is embodied in the heart of those who went through everything and did not give up. And now those who feel it know it was worth it. Because even in the worst, God was there, and that changes everything. Those who went through it understand that the world of before is no longer useful, that what was a priority then does not matter now. What the heart sought all the time was always there, hidden maybe, silent, but real. And now everything is different. Not because the world has changed, but because those who remain standing have changed inside. And no one can take that change away. No one can erase the look. Now it is another one, firmer, cleaner, deeper. The soul carries marks, yes, but not of fear, of faith tested, faith that went through the fire and was not consumed. By faith that became flesh, that became practice, that became an anchor. This is the legacy of those who believed when no one else believed, of those who held on tight when everyone said to let go. The promise was not of a world without pain. It was of a light that never goes out. It was of a truth that does not depend on the scenario. It was of a God who does not enter when it is convenient. He remains even when everything around him falls apart. And now whoever saw this light lit in their own spirit no longer accepts crumbs. They do not return to the emptiness of before. They do not bow to what the world offers. Because they understood that what really matters was never visible. It was always invisible. It was always him. The promise was fulfilled, not for everyone, but for those who chose faith even without signs. And now, with the soul lit, comes the next question: what are you going to do with this light that did not go out? When the light returns, it does not return as it was before. It does not return soft, welcoming, ordinary. It returns sharp, revealing, without a filter. And whoever is still standing sees not what they wanted to see, but what was always there. Now wide open, naked, real. Darkness left a trail. It took many things. It ended the excess. The lie, the noise, was exposed, filtered, separated. And now what is left is true, only true. Those who have passed through the silence of fear, confrontation, and abandonment carry in their guts something that the modern world does not know how to name. It is not pride. It is not trauma. It is clarity. It is conscience. It is light that remained. The world will not return to what it was because it cannot, because it should not. What sustained the old order was fragile, corrupt, empty. Faith became appearance. Love became distraction. The sacred became a joke. All of this fell, and those who are here now understand that it is not possible to rebuild on the same foundation. Rebirth begins in the spirit, not in buildings, not in cities, not in systems. It begins with those who spiritually survived the longest night in history, with those who chose faith when doubt screamed, with those who prayed when the whole world said it was useless. These people now carry what no one else carries, depth. And it is with them that everything will begin again. But the beginning again is not gentle. It demands even more. Because now there are no excuses. Everything has been revealed. What sustains, what tears down, what is real, what never was, what is valuable, what weighs. Now those who carry the light have a responsibility to hold that light, protect it, keep it lit, and mainly, do not let the world erase again what took so long to awaken. This new time will not be done by the majority. It will be done by the remnants, by the survivors, by those who were broken, yes, but who did not give up, who saw everything fall apart and decided to remain standing, not by physical strength, but by faith, by certainty, by divine presence. Rebirth after the end is not collective. It is personal. It begins within each person who returned from the darkness with different eyes, and from these eyes the new world is now born, a world where the sacred once again has a place, where truth is no longer negotiated, where prayer is not a last resort. It is the beginning of everything. Reconstruction begins where the light remained, in the closed homes that resisted, in the voices that were silenced so as not to open gaps, in the hearts that preferred to break rather than surrender. These are the ones who will guide, who will form the new nucleus, who will hold the hands of those who return in pieces and show that there is still a way, because there always was, but now it is no longer about finding it. It is about deserving. Deserving to continue. Deserving to walk on clean earth. Deserving to see the sun without fear. Deserving to hear the voice of God and finally understanding. Rebirth is not relief. It is a mission. A mission to protect what was revealed. A mission of not forgetting. A mission of keeping the light on even with the memory still hurting. Because the truth will never be erased.